Okay, so what if the key to peace in Ukraine wasn't in some high-stakes diplomatic meeting, but in the ego of one of the world's most polarizing figures? In this explainer, we're diving into a really bizarre geopolitical story that kicks off with a Nobel Prize snub and, believe it or not, ends with a wild, ego-fueled peace plan. Let's jump right in.
It all started with this headline. I mean, this is a sentence so absurd it feels like it was ripped straight out of a political satire. Just try to picture this for a second. Two leaders, Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelenskyy, locked in a brutal, bloody war, and they agree on one thing and one thing only, that Donald Trump was robbed of the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. It's a total head-scratcher.
So you're probably asking yourself the exact same thing I was. How on earth did we get to this point? To really understand this truly bizarre moment, we need to rewind the tape a bit and unpack the series of events that led to this strange and frankly unbelievable alliance.
All right, so to make sense of any of this, we've got to start at the beginning. It's all about the prize itself and the very public snub that set this whole crazy chain of events into motion.
So, the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize actually went to the Venezuelan opposition leader María Corina Machado for her courageous work. I mean, a fantastic and noble cause, for sure. But, as it turns out, she wasn't exactly the winner some people were expecting.
Yeah, so for years now, Donald Trump has made it pretty clear he thinks he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. So when he got passed over, his reaction was, well, it was swift and completely on brand. He basically claimed the committee is biased against conservatives and that they reward the wrong people. According to the reports, the snub really stung him badly.
And this right here is where the story goes from interesting to just plain weird. Because Trump's disappointment, it turns out, created this totally unexpected opening for two of the world's most bitter enemies to find some common ground.
Just take a look at this. The similarity in what they said is just startling. Putin comes out and claims the prize has lost its meaning, while Zelenskyy says Trump deserved recognition. You've got two leaders locked in this horrific war, and all of a sudden they're on the same side of an argument. It's like geopolitics meets a surrealist play. So what's really going on here? Was this some genuine moment of agreement? Well, not quite. The analysis suggests two very different, very calculated motivations. For Putin, this was classic geopolitical trolling, a perfect chance to undermine a major Western institution. And for Zelenskyy, it was a really smart diplomatic move, a kind of strategic nudge to try and get Trump back to the negotiating table for Ukraine.
So, okay, we've got this bizarre moment of irony, but what if it's more than that? What if this strange alignment of interests has actually created a fascinating, if not a little speculative, opportunity for a real bargain?
And this leads us to a pretty wild thought experiment. I mean, what if this wasn't just political theater? What if we actually took these leaders at their word for a second and just explored the possibility they might have accidentally opened up?
This is where it gets really interesting. Check out how their goals could, paradoxically, line up. Trump wants that Nobel Prize. Putin wants sanctions relief and global recognition, and Zelenskyy wants a dignified peace and to keep his country's sovereignty. A potential peace deal, which some are already calling the Trump Accord, could, at least in theory, give every single one of them a win.
So here's the crazy theory at the heart of all this. What if personal ego, that deep craving for a legacy, for recognition, for a place in the history books, could actually be the most powerful diplomatic tool we have? Could it be the key that unlocks a peace deal where all the traditional diplomacy has failed? It's a fascinating thought, right?
And hey, this isn't just some abstract idea floating around. The source material for this actually lays out a surprisingly detailed blueprint for how this ego-powered peace could really work in practice.
Now, this five-step path is ambitious, to say the least. Let's break it down. First, Ukraine would make a constitutional change about NATO and call for new elections. Then, you'd get a ceasefire and a big buffer zone, patrolled by neutral UN peacekeepers from places like India and Nepal. Then, and this is the really crucial part, citizens in the disputed regions would actually get to vote on their future. And finally, a massive global fund would be set up to rebuild Ukraine. It's a huge, complex plan, but it's a plan.
The referendum is easily the most radical part of this whole idea. Under UN supervision, the people in these disputed territories would get to choose their own future. They'd have three options: stay part of a federal Ukraine, become independent states, or join the Russian Federation. The whole point is to take the decision out of the hands of politicians and generals and, for once, give it to the people who actually live there.
And if, and it's a huge if, this audacious plan were to actually succeed, well, it would lead to maybe the most provocative outcome imaginable. the ultimate prize. Now, I know what you're thinking. A shared prize for these three? Is that even possible? Well, history actually says, yeah, it is. Back in 1978, bitter enemies Sadat and Begin shared the prize after the Camp David Accords. In 1994, it was Arafat, Peres, and Rabin for the Oslo Accords. So the precedent for adversaries becoming partners in peace is definitely there. Which leaves the question, could 2026 really see Putin, Zelenskyy, and Trump sharing the same stage in Oslo?
And so this whole incredible, mind-bending scenario leaves us with one final question. Is it possible that the very same leaders who push the world to the brink could actually be the ones to pull it back? Could these unbelievably polarizing figures somehow transform themselves into history's most unlikely peacemakers? It's a wild thought, but it's one that's definitely worth pondering.
In the end, this is all a massive long shot, right? A path that's paved with ego and personal ambition. But as our source material puts it so perfectly, if irony could end wars, we'd have world peace by now. You know, maybe the real takeaway here isn't that the world needs less irony, but that it needs a way to harness these powerful forces, ego, ambition, and actually channel them towards something constructive. It's a provocative idea for sure, but maybe, just maybe, it holds a key to a more peaceful future.